The events of this story run concurrently with the events of Claws of the Dragon, which is the last story that I covered in this series. So we're introduced to a Keldor admiral named Shah Dun. We're also introduced to Darth Azad, who is a Corran Sith. The admiral ends up getting killed by this Sith for failing to capture Gar Stazi, who is a Duros. And with this, it causes Admiral Valan to want to replace the alien personnel in his fleet with human personnel, and saying, I want a superior crew to deal with this alien pest. We hear about Admiral Valan's previous encounter with Gar Stazi, where Stazi escaped him at what's being called the Battle of Karmas. Karmas is central to one of the main plotlines in Hand of Thrawn, where Gordon Tierce used the destruction of the refugee city on Karmas by Palpatine with the aid of the Bothans to sow division in the New Republic. And then we get to see Mon Calamari, known as Dak to its principal inhabitants, the Mon Calamari and the Corran. A beautiful water world. Mon Calamari had been a staunch supporter of the Galactic Alliance, and the New Republic, and the Rebel Alliance that came before it. Following the ascendancy of the Sith, the Corran were made rulers of Dak, as opposed to the power-sharing government that preceded it. The planet has long been one of the principal shipyards of the galaxy, ringed by orbiting dry docks and planetary defense systems. It now turns out vessels only for Darth Krayt's empire. Foremost of these will be the new advanced Star Destroyer, Imperius, now approaching completion. It is a source of both pride and despair for the Mon Calamari who helped build her, none more than Gail Gahan. And not only do we meet Gail Gahan, but also his niece, who serves under Stazi. The Mon Calamari have been aiding what remains of the Galactic Alliance covertly during their conflict with the Sith Empire. They are planning on stealing the Imperius once the bulk fleet departs Dak. We then see the Triumvirate, which is a gathering of Galactic Alliance members to make decisions together. Cole Skywalker is the one sent on behalf of the Jedi. This is where we get more info about the Battle of Karmas. It was a trap to lure the Alliance fleet away from Coruscant and leave the planet open to attack by the Imperials. Stazi thinks the flagship Imperius is in a similar situation, saying it's a little too attractive and a little too attainable, and he suspects that Admiral Valan has already planned for them to try and steal the Imperius. Despite this line of thinking, Stazi understands that they are what remains of the Galactic Alliance and they need the Imperius ship, or risk becoming just another pirate fleet raiding for supplies. And Admiral Valan has in fact planned ahead. First, the automated defenses for the planets and the shipyards must be neutralized. Gail Gahan will do that from the central command post on the planet's surface. Once the signal has been given that the automated defenses are down, squads of Alliance commandos will seize control of the Imperius. Our skeleton crew will be instructed to surrender immediately. It is at that point that Stazi's ships will jump in from hyperspace for what he will think is a waiting prize. That's when the trap snaps shut. First, we will reactivate the automated defenses. Gahan will be arrested. Then our forces, already secretly aboard the Imperius, will retake command. When that is done, our fleet will arrive. Stazi's pitiful fleet will be caught between us and the automated defenses. This time there will be no escape. And with the plan executed, Stazi remembers the Battle of Karmas, where Galactic Alliance Admiral Peyton planned on surrendering, but Stazi wasn't interested in surrendering. Attention all Galactic Alliance personnel. This is Admiral Gar Stazi of the Core Fleet. I decline any Imperial offer for surrender unless it be theirs. Any other ship or fighter at Karmas declined to surrender should form up on the Indomitable's position immediately. Admiral Stazi, this is Grand Admiral Veed. The hyperspace lanes have been mined and you are outnumbered and outgunned. The result of your defiance can only be slaughter. Reconsider. I will surrender, Admiral, when I can no longer fight. Stazi out. Back in the present, Valan asks Stazi if he will be surrendering. Let me see if I understand my position clearly, Admiral Valan. The crews I have sent to seize the Imperius fleet have themselves been captured. The Mon Calamari shipyard defenses have been reactivated, and your fleet has me trapped against the planet, cutting off all hope for escape. Yes? Very well. I shall attack. The planetary defense stations are firing on us. Frigates Iron Star and Verpine are reporting heavy damage. Our own shields are down to 20%. How? We retook control of the automated defense grid after they tried to sabotage the central command post. The situation suggests, sir, that we found the one we were supposed to find. There must be a backdoor entry elsewhere through which Admiral Stazi has established an override. Shut it back down. Send units to find this back door. Stazi is still trapped between us and the planet. He cannot and will not escape. Madness. I don't know what the Alliance Admiral is thinking. he'll be cut to ribbons. Genius is often mistaken for madness. Sorry, Lieutenant, armor's Imperial, but those inside it are Alliance. Sergeant Romolo, message back to the Admiral. Guarded channels. All went according to plan. We have the ships and will free the strike team. Car out. The Imperius is moving, Admiral. The Alliance appears to have retaken control of it as well. Forget the Imperius, Captain Hodge. We can easily recover it later. Stasi is the key. Bring us closer. Blast his cruiser to atoms. Admiral Valan, the enemy has put the docks between us and them. We cannot return fire without destroying the docks. Knowing that he is Valan's main target, Stasi commands his ships and fighters to break out of orbit and jump to the rendezvous point, while he stays behind to provide cover. They're not who Valan wants. All enemy ships are accelerating, Admiral, except for the Indomitable. Looks like the fleet is making a run for it. Plot to intercept? Let them run, Captain Hodge. They are unimportant, Captain Hodge. Without Stasi, they are mere rabble. Do you fail to understand? Stasi is the key. Fire through whatever dock he is hiding behind. One dock is expendable. Stasi wants to be the one to sacrifice himself for the Alliance, but his men understand that he's the symbol the Alliance needs. So as the Lieutenant gets the Admiral out of there, the Captain stays behind to sacrifice himself. This is the Galactic Alliance cruiser Indomitable. Captain J.S. Yorob commanding. Though battles have been lost, the Alliance still lives, and we have not surrendered. We do not concede the stars. We will win back our birthright. Freedom. With this failure, Valan leaves the bridge to Captain Hodge and departs for his quarters, where he appears to take his own life. And we learn that Captain Yorob managed to destroy a third of the Mon Cal docks. We must be ready, Joram. There will be reprisal. The Sith do not forgive. It is only a question of how hard the hammer will fall, and where. And that's it. You know, these two issues were surprisingly enjoyable. And it shows that you don't really need much to establish an interesting and entertaining rivalry between two characters. From what it looks like, at the end of the story, Valan takes his own life instead of facing Darth Azad. His grudge against Stasi made for a great read, and it only took a few lines to give him a little more depth. His obvious dislike for non-humans is a classic Imperial characterization, and I'm sure that makes Stasi beating him twice hurt even more. And Stasi getting a chance to shine in these two issues ended up being a character I really liked, and I'm glad he survived this conflict so we get to see more of him going forward. Reading through this story, it feels like the remnants of the Galactic Alliance are a more genuine attempt to emulate the rebels from the OT without feeling cheap or forced, and far superior to how the sequel trilogy does it. Even with someone staying behind to sacrifice themselves so the rest can escape was handled better in this than Holdo in The Last Jedi. I'm glad we got a callback to Karmas in this. I mentioned this is connected to a plotline in the Hand of Thrawn duology, which I did review. Whenever we get stuff that reminds me of past events in the expanded universe, it goes a long way to make this era feel connected to what came before it in my mind. If you're new to the EU and maybe don't know where to start, if you want to know where Luke's story goes after the original trilogy, I recommend checking out the Thrawn trilogy and then the Hand of Thrawn duology for a sequel of sorts to the trilogy. And if you want to see more of Luke and Mara after that, you should check out Survivor's Quest. All 6 books are written by Timothy Zahn, and all have really well-made audiobooks narrated by Mark Thompson you could listen to. The Thrawn trilogy is also in comic form if you prefer a more visual medium. I also have reviews for the Thrawn trilogy and the Hand of Thrawn duology on the channel, so maybe check those out if you want. I want to finish this by going over my thoughts on some of the designs we see in these two issues. First, the Imperial Star Destroyers and TIE Fighters. I wasn't sure how I felt about them when I first saw them, when I first started reading Legacy. Even reading these two issues, I thought the Star Destroyers looked a bit weird in some panels. But by the end, the look really grew on me. Much like the Imperial uniforms, they feel like an updated look that suits the time period and feels distinct yet reminiscent of what came before in the OT. That being said, what we see of the Galactic Alliance members in the flashback, their outfits are still going to take some getting used to. I think the look they give Cole Skywalker was especially kind of weird, but it's not terrible. Just different than what I picture for the style of Star Wars outfits. But of course, I'm thinking of a time generations ago from this setting. And lastly, Darth Azad's lightsaber design. It's interesting and I kind of like it. The Sith designs are all pretty simple, yet they still look pretty cool in my opinion. They have a distinct style that sets them apart in my mind from Sith from other eras of Star Wars, yet they still have a Sith look. Overall, this was a fun read and I'm looking forward to continuing Star Wars Legacy. Going forward, the videos on Legacy and other comics will be formatted more like this. where I will give a bit of a recap, I'll read some things that I think are interesting, and then I'll give my thoughts on whatever issue I'm covering in the video. And hopefully as I keep making more of these videos, I'll get better at it. Hope you guys stick around for that. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe. I'll see you guys later.